All right, sleepers, breakouts, and busts. Heath, who's your favorite sleeper running back?
I'm going to go with Latavius Murray. When we wrote our sleepers running backs last week, I couldn't choose him because his ADP was a little bit too high, but 96th overall on CBS at the 8-9 turn. This is one of my favorite running backs if I do go zero RB. He's taking over the Mark Ingram role, and we were drafting Mark Ingram in the 4th or 5th round the last couple of years. I think there's double-digit touchdown upside here, and I expect him to be slightly more involved in the passing game than he was in Minnesota, if not heavily involved. I don't think we're going to see Alvin Kamara get the 320, 330 touches. So there'll still be plenty of work there for Murray and a Saints offense that's gone pretty run heavy the last couple of years.
All right, Jamie, your favorite sleeper?
I keep moving Jalen Samuels up. I think you're starting to hear out of Pittsburgh how they're going to be very creative in using him. And then there's always the factor of what happens if James Conner goes down. Will it be Samuels or will it be Benny Snell? We saw Samuels, put up good fantasy production last year once he got the opportunity after Connor's ankle injury in that 3-game stretch. So there's that factor as well that he could be a lottery ticket for you. But I think that he may end up getting some standalone value if, in fact, he does become this sort of pass-catching option, H-back, that they may use to help replace not just Antonio Brown's targets, but also Jesse James and his playing time. So I think Samuels is starting to become a little bit more attractive and certainly somebody that has the chance, if, in fact, Connor suffers an injury, to be a league winner for you.
Dave?
I think that now's a good time to talk about Devin Singletary and why I have him ranked ahead of LaShawn McCoy. I think that he's obviously the fresher, younger talent. I think that the fact that he's getting opportunities with the first team offense in training camp, to me, speaks quite a lot. And LaShawn McCoy could easily get banged up. Frank Gore, I know he's never really gotten banged up, but it could happen when they want to turn to the future. They're going to turn to this kid who has unbelievable lateral agility. If you just do yourself a favor and watch one video on YouTube of Devin Singletary playing against anybody. Against Oklahoma, it's even more impressive. But he makes guys miss. He breaks tackles. He's not like a super burner, but he's an incredible running back who I think will get a big opportunity in Buffalo. Their offensive line's better. The deep threat of their passing game will always be present because of Josh Allen on the field. And I love getting him in round 10 plus, and I'm just going to sit on him for a month and wait for him to break out in that Bills offense.
All right, so we've got.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. It'd be fun to see.
Yeah, he's so much fun to watch.
Well, I mean, there was a report that Yeldon may not make the team, which kind of would help things out certainly in that regard. But you know how coaches get, which we saw with the Dolphins last year. They lean on these veteran guys so much, even though the younger guy may be better, and it's just frustrating because who knows what this offense could be with the younger talent. I mean, maybe Buffalo gives Singletary that opportunity. What would make a ton of sense is if they just moved on from LaShawn McCoy, maybe give McCoy a chance to go to a team that could use him. Tampa Bay would be the
Chargers.
Obvious choice.
There you go.
No, we want Gordon.
You know, the Browns moved on from a veteran in the middle of last season too. So I don't.
Very true.
So it's not all. Some coaches can actually be progressive.
All right, I'm ready for some breakouts. Here we go. Heath, who's your favorite breakout?
Yes, I get to go first, so I get to say Kerryon Johnson. Theo Riddick's gone. Johnson will be the primary pass-catching back. This is not a bad situation in Detroit, and I know you might have to rewind and hear that again, and this is not a bad situation for a running back in Detroit. The offensive line is good. The defense is improved. They have a head coach and an offensive coordinator that want to run the ball, and C.J. Anderson's the only person there to share touches with. I think there's a good chance, as long as Johnson stays healthy, he makes the leap and could challenge to be the top number 5 running back in football this year.
Jamie.
I've spoken out against Kerryon before. I can't do it anymore. I know that there's injury risk, but he's a good, talented 3-down type of back. He's going to lose some work to C.J. Anderson. I'm scared it's going to be at the goal line, but he's going to play a lot. He's going to catch a lot of passes, and he's worth a second-round pick. Can't deny it. I'm taking him ahead of Dalvin Cook.
Okay. Dave, I'll just stick with you. Who's your breakout if it's not Kerryon?
It's not Kerryon. I'll go with Tevin Coleman in San Francisco. His career high in total yards, I think, it's under 1,100 yards. I think he crushes that this year. I think he's the best running back that the 49ers have, even with Jerick McKinnon coming back. I know they'll use multiple guys each week, but Coleman's the one who's best suited to play 3 downs, get 15 touches, definitely work the goal line. I doubt you'll see Jerick McKinnon at the goal line. And I don't think this 49ers offense is that bad. I think their offensive line is actually pretty good. I think with Jimmy Garoppolo coming under center, I think the passing game is going to be real good. I expect the receivers to take a step forward. And Tevin Coleman has finished as a top 24 running back each of the last 3 years. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished top 15. So when we see him go in round 5 in our drafts, I actually start to get a little upset because I want to get him in round 5 in my drafts, and I can't do it anymore.
Okay, Tevin Coleman for Dave, Kerryon Johnson for Heath. Jamie, who's your breakout?
I think Leonard Fournette's going to have a monster season. He sort of alluded to this with what his 16-game production could be. But I just go back to 2017 when he was a rookie and the Jaguars led the NFL in rushing attempts. And I know Baltimore is going to be in that conversation, obviously Seattle as well. But this is what Jacksonville's identity wants to be based on what Tom Coughlin loves, leaning on his defense, allowing his run game to sort of dictate time of possession. And as much as Nick Foles is an upgrade over Blake Bortles, if Leonard Fournette plays 16 games, you said this, Adam, this offensive line should be better. You know, hopefully Cam Robinson's healthy, but Juwan Taylor on the other side is a huge upgrade. I just think that Fournette, if he stays healthy, if he gives you 13-plus games, his role in the passing game will be better. His opportunities will be better. He's in better shape. He's not perfect. He's certainly flawed, but a second-round pick on Leonard Fournette. I think the 3 guys that you're going to get in the second round that you should absolutely love if they stay healthy, and they all are tied to injuries, are Leonard Fournette, Kerryon Johnson, and Dalvin Cook. If they play the majority of the season, they are going to be such huge difference makers, and all 3 can challenge to be top 5 running backs this year.
Adam, can I give my favorite stat on Fournette?
Yeah.
Okay. He's played 21 games in 2 years. I'm in the Fournette camp, too. I think I have him ranked higher than you guys.
Welcome on. You were fighting it for a long
time. I was. You know what? The fact here's what swayed me. Number one, he was a top 10 running back in 2017 in 13 games, which is pretty incredible. Number two, in 21 games he's played in, he has 12 touchdowns from 3 yards or closer. The Jaguars have only 3 other touchdowns from other players from 3 yards or closer in those games. So when they belly up to the goal line, they're thinking Fournette. The Vikings, by comparison, aren't like that with Dalvin Cook. The Lions, by comparison, aren't like that with their running backs. I think that helps put Leonard Fournette over the edge. He's got the highest upside of any of the injury risk running backs, and he's healthy right now. He's slimmed down, and I agree with everybody. I think he's going to continue catching a lot of passes. Another second-round pick worth taking.
Yeah, but when you look at those 3 that Jamie just mentioned, and I think Todd Gurley might be in that group. It depends on your draft.
He should be in that group. Absolutely should be in that group.
Well, he might be ahead of that group, is what I'm saying.
I agree.
Yeah. Would you take Gurley ahead of Fournette, Cook, Kerryon?
I'm not there yet, but I think, again, if he continues to progress the way he's, what he's doing, it's certainly encouraging, and he's the one that has the track record. And when you start to compare, okay, who's an injury risk? The guy who may have something that could take him off the field and did for 2 games, or the guys who haven't played 16 games yet. Dalvin Cook's missed more games than he's played. Kerryon Johnson couldn't make it through his rookie season and has a track record going back to high school. Leonard Fournette, had not just on the field issues, but off the field issues. And so,
yeah,
if Gurley is going to end up, I still think, being a league winner for a lot of people. And it may not be over a 16-game period, but if he plays 8 healthy games and is what he's capable of doing in this offense.
Oh, man. I'm so excited about him.
It could be tremendous.
My biggest question with Gurley is because I think you're probably right that it's not fair to say he's a bigger injury risk than those guys. My biggest question is, if these guys all play 16 games, does Gurley get as many touches as the other 3?
Yeah,
because my expectation right now is Darrell Henderson is going to take too much of the passing game work away from Gurley, is my fear.
I think you're 100% right in that could happen, and it's easy to expect that. Look, so far everything Sean McVay has said about Todd Gurley has been accurate. He's fine. He's going to be there for the start of camp. No pup list, all those things. He's going through joint practices with the Chargers. We're going to get a chance to see on Hard Knocks what he looks like going against the Raiders. If in fact they show that. So right now, from the end of the year through now, he's met all of his benchmarks. But still, if you were to ask anybody right now, we ran that Twitter poll, Heath, for FFT on CBS Sports HQ. Todd Gurley versus Damian Williams, who's dealing with an injury concern right now and who has a track record of being hurt. If you say Todd Gurley 16 games with just that number alone, just that fact alone, there is no chance anybody is drafting Kerryon Johnson, Leonard Fournette, or Dalvin Cook ahead of him. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just telling you that if you put that in front of anybody, Todd Gurley 16 games, they are going to take Todd Gurley more times than that. And they may take him over Ezekiel Elliott at this point.
I was about to say, if you guarantee.
He's the best. He has been so much better than everyone else. Even those top 4 running backs last year. Well, Gurley, the top 4 running backs that are going this year, Gurley was better on a per-game basis, a lot better than both of them. And it's 2 years in a row. And the first 8 games of the season, he was on pace for like 30 touchdowns. If in 2017, Gurley was the number 1 running back in fantasy, if he had lost 400 receiving yards that year, he still would have been the number 1 running back in fantasy. So you can take some away from him. And I'll just finish up by saying, guys, of those 4 running backs we mentioned, Gurley, Cook, Kerryon Johnson, and Fournette, in terms of touches, the one I'm most worried about is Dalvin Cook because they have Madison. They obviously use Latavius Murray, and this guy can't stay healthy. So I think he's got a bigger chance of losing touches to someone else and maybe losing some goal line work. I love all these guys. I agree. It's an exciting group. They could all be amazing. Fournette scares me for obvious reasons, but touches, I think Cook has the biggest chance of losing touches to Madison compared to other compared to the other 3.
Well, if it's Madison, you still got to prove that he's the second guy. I think the one thing to keep in mind with Todd Gurley, this is the one game I go back to with him last year, and it was the Cowboys game in the first round of their first playoff game, the second playoff game for the Rams. He was 2 games removed from the knee injury, so he had plenty of rest, and it was actually 3 weeks because they had a bye. He had 16 carries for 115 yards and a touchdown against what at the time was considered a good run defense. C.J. Anderson also ran through them too. So it just shows you what the Rams are capable of doing. He had 2 catches in that game, so 18 total touches. Would that be a shock if that's his number?
No,
and he'd be great. I think he'd be amazing.
Now that's 7 yards per carry. That's not realistic.
Right.
But
the other concern is this Rams offense as good with the offensive line they have?
Well, I think that comes down to 2 things, and you're 100% right, Heath. Is Whitworth still the same guy after contemplating retirement and fighting through some injuries last year? Are the replacement options that they have going to be as good? But I think that's where you sort of buy into Sean McVay and, what that offensive system has been and what the creativity that he has and what his coaching staff, as revamped as it may be with losing Zach Taylor and, whatever other pieces, it's just hoping that, okay, they do this with Gurley. They do that with the line. They do this with Goff having Cooper Kupp back on the field. It's so hard to defend them. And so I think that Gurley, again, if you just say Gurley is, you look into a crystal ball and Madam Cleo tells you you're getting 16 games of Todd Gurley.
Cleo.
Huh? Miss Cleo, excuse me.
Yeah. Miss Cleo, come on.
Well, he's trying to be professional.
I was being polite. If you get 16,
wrap it up because we gotta get to busts.
16 games of Todd Gurley, I guarantee you most people would sign up for that easily with a first-round pick and potentially top 5.
All right,
they're doing it now.
Here on Fantasy Football Today. When we come back, we're going to end our show. We're not going to get to ADP. We're going to end our show with busts for the 2019 season right after this. All right, we have 4 minutes left, guys. Let's do some busts. Go Heath, Jamie, Dave. 3, 2, 1. All right, so didn't get to quite as much as I thought we'd get to today, but that's fine. I'm cool with it because we got a whole another 60-minute show tomorrow. Heath, who is a bust this year at running back?
Sadly, I'm going to say Phillip Lindsay. I hate the fact that they brought in Theo Riddick. There has been nothing but talk so far about Royce Freeman and how they'd like to give him a bigger piece of the pie on early downs. And I don't think there's really much chance at all that Lindsay is going to repeat what he did on a yards per carry basis last year with 5.4 yards per carry. I don't think there is much chance at all that he's going to score on 5 of his 6 carries inside the 5-yard line. So the one hope that I had was that he'd have an increase in volume in either the rushing game or the passing game. And with the talk about Freeman and the addition of Riddick, I don't see that either. He still has a 4th-round ADP. I think that should be the 5-6 turn.
Jamie, who's a bust?
Derrick Henry. I'm not drafting Derrick Henry at all. I hope he's healthy. I hope he gives you that production that you got from the final 4 games of last season. But it's just so hard to expect that. I mean, the first 12 games I think are a bigger sample size of what he's potentially going to do. Deion Lewis will still be a factor. I think the offense, Ben Gretsch talked about this a lot. The offense should be better because you get a healthy Marcus Mariota. But just in terms of where Henry's going in the third round, at least the last time I looked as of last week, in terms of his non-PPR average draft position, it's probably fourth round in PPR. I just can't trust it for a guy that's not going to be involved in the passing game. And if the touchdowns come down from the 12 he scored, and again, keep in mind 7 of those came in the final 4 games, I think you're going to be disappointed with Derrick Henry's production.
Right, and that's a change in fantasy football. It's even in non-PPR, guys who don't catch passes have more bust potential because you're just missing a lot of yards that the other running backs are getting. There were 16 running backs with 50 catches last year. Derrick Henry certainly was not one of them. Dave, who's a bust for you?
I can't share in the enthusiasm over Todd Gurley. And there's 2 reasons for it. He averaged 22.5 touches per game last season. I think we can all agree that he's not going to get that high. Can we guarantee he's going to get 17 touches a game? I think he'll get some games with 17 touches, but I don't know if that'll be his average. I went back and checked. He has 16 games in his career with 17 or fewer touches. 12 of the 16, he's been below 10 fantasy points in non-PPR. 13 of the 16, he's been below 15 PPR fantasy points. That worries me. We also know he's got a ticking time bomb in his knee. Not guaranteed to go off at all this year. No one knows when it's going to happen, but at any point with a player that's got arthritis in his knee, you've got to figure that there's going to be some risk of him missing a game because of maintenance or missing a month because of an injury or a strain. That's the drawback to me on Todd Gurley, and it's why there's no way I can take him in round 1. And at this point, I'm finding reasons to take other running backs. You heard me talk about Fournette and Carry-On. I'm finding other running backs to take in round 2 ahead of Todd Gurley. And the only reason why Todd Gurley is moving up in my rankings is because guys like Aaron Jones and Derrick Henry and Phillip Lindsay are falling down because their situations are terrible, and Gurley just seems like the better option at this point compared to what they're dealing with.
Those are great stats. I wish I'd heard those stats before I defended.
Do you want to know
Gurley,
how
but
he's done with 19 or fewer touches?
Well, maybe we can talk about that on tomorrow's show, Dave, but we are out of time. I hope this was helpful for everybody. Get a little glimpse at the top. When we start tomorrow's show, it is basically going to be average draft position right from the start. So looking forward to that. Thanks a lot to Heath, to Jamie, and to Dave. I'm Adam. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today, and...
Na 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 na.